Welcome down home crypto. I'm Serenity, and in this episode, I want to share with you probably the most valuable thing that exists on the planet anywhere. What is that? Information. And I'm not talking the stuff you find in the news or on the newsstand or papers or magazines. I'm talking true raw data long before it ever hits a newsstand of what is really going on behind the scenes. And I'm going to share with you where to find that and my primary source of that kind of information. But first, if you would, please do me a huge favor. Take a moment, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click that bell notification so you're alerted every time I upload a new video. Some of this information can be time sensitive. Most importantly, as always, please, if you have a friend, a coworker, a family member that has no idea this world exists, share this information. Let them know they don't have to be rich or college educated or tech savvy. They simply have to have a desire to change their life and a courage to follow that dream. And they too can join us on this great crypto adventure. So without further ado, let's go learn about Cryptonairz.
There's a war out there, old friend. A world war. And it's not about who's got the most bullets. It's about who controls the information. What we see and hear, how we work, what we think. It's all about the information.
Now, this is a scene out of one of my favorite movies from 30 years ago. Yeah, I'm that old, sorry. But it's very true, and it's still very true today. Maybe even more so. Especially in this digital age, we are so connected with our TVs and our phones and all this source of information. But do we really know how accurate it is? Well, that's one thing I love about Cryptonairz, because they are a dedicated foundation to doing nothing but delivering real-time information of what's going on, even behind the scenes, knowing who's building the market and not the media that gets pushed out by the three major corporations that control almost every major media channel in the world. Yeah, I didn't realize that, did you? Yeah, guess where I found that information? Cryptonairz. So this is literally that foundation that looks behind the curtain, gives us that regular information, and every couple of days there's a Sensei chat where CryptoSensi will spend a couple hours and literally just hammer out everything that's occurred in the last 48 hours. And you'd be really surprised how much occurs within the crypto space in a 48-hour time frame. Not only that, you can check out trades, you can find out what new entry points there are into certain coins and tokens, but that's the biggest thing, is really having that information to draw upon to make your decisions. Because the last thing you want to do is listen to Bob at the water cooler or Bill the mailman or somebody like that. You need to find out your own information, do your due diligence. But I feel it's important that we all need to have this kind of information, and this is the best source that I've ever found. So I definitely wanted to share this with all of you. But don't take my word for it. Let's jump into Cryptonairz Discord and take a look around. So when we go to the Cryptonairz Discord server, first place I want to hit is the official links. And as you can see, it doesn't have just the links for Cryptonairz. It has them for coins and tokens, charts, wallets, bridging, NFT marketplaces, exchanges, and DeFi exchanges. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for information depending on what you're trying to do. Now, the next section is listed out as our plays. So there's plays that are occurring right now, things that you probably don't know about or hear about. Gives an analysis breakdown, what the current price is, where to buy it, what the website is, as well as the chart of how it stands right now. And also, there's always disclaimers about, remember, this is not financial advice. Make your own decisions, do your own due diligence, but they're giving you the opportunity to get in really early on some of this information before most people even know what's out there. That's why I really say that this is a great source of information before it hits the newsstands. Now, the next one, if you're a trader and you want some technical analysis, they've got a complete team just doing technical analysis on different coins. So for instance, right here it talks about Ethereum. And this is this morning, says, okay, this is what they're analyzing it's going to do. Here's the bounce rate. Here's your resistance levels. They give you a full breakdown as well as letting you know, hey, this is the weekend. Don't trade today. Wait, see what happens. And so there's some great advice here all the way around. Now, under technical analysis, there's actually a full lesson here on how to read these charts, where your resistance levels are, when to look for a pump or a dump, or how that's going to play. So at Cryptonairz, they're not only about giving the information, they're also about teaching how to utilize that information to maximize on your capital that you've invested, and also things to watch out for. Another section listed under our plays is NFTs. This is going to give you a complete breakdown about the NFTs, what the Discord is, what their Twitter is, what the prices are, all the information you want to know. And this is being updated constantly by a team that is dedicated to just servicing NFTs. Maybe you're one of those that want to know about the stock market. Guess what? There's a chapter in here just for stock market plays as well, where they give a breakdown, technical analysis, as well as information of what's going on and how that pertains to the stock market today. So kind of regardless of what you're looking for, you're going to find that information here. Now there's another section down here called Super Bowls. Now, a Super Bowl is a classification of a paid subscriber. And this is one of those, regardless of anything else I couldn't afford to pay, my Super Bowl subscription to me was absolutely priceless. Because in this chat, not only do I get the opportunity to talk to CryptoSensei and the team directly, as well as other investors, and find out that early alpha information, but also I get great perks, such as going here and being able to ask tax questions directly to a tax provider. Sensei research, if you want to find out what was in the Sensei chat, how did he get his information, there's a link to all of that. So he puts all that information out there so we can go in and we can do our own due diligence on top of what he's already done. Now, there's also a complete social aspect where there's a general chat that anybody can chat into, ask questions, share different crypto projects they're invested in. There's straight degen ideas where someone says, hey, this thing just launched 20 minutes ago. If you want to try and get into it, it's super high risk. It may crash and burn, but here you go. Here's the absolute latest information before you're going to find it anywhere else, as well as news and insights to what's going on in the world, whether it's through Facebook or it's ChatGPT. Tim Draper proposes Bitcoin legalization in Sri Lanka. I mean, this is information we're not going to get here in the States. There's even a complete section about NFTs populated and monitored by Mosian. And this is a community absolutely dedicated to nothing but the NFTs, what the market is, what's hot, what's not, what's of value, and what important news is coming out, and then recaps of what did occur and what could occur. But there's far too much information here to even try to begin to include in one video or even a whole fleet of videos. What I can do is the next best thing. So in a lot of times in our life, we get very confused and we feel just like this guy at the chalkboard. We don't know where to turn. And in today's modern digital age, information is key. Please understand. But I'm not talking that information you see on the 10 o'clock news. I'm talking the information that happens long before you ever see it on the news, because by then it's already happened. So, got a special guest today. I'd like to welcome you to CryptoSensei. Sensei, hey, thank you for joining us, buddy. I really appreciate it, man.
It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And now, for anybody who doesn't know, CryptoSensei, you run a firm, I guess you would call it, called Cryptonairz. How do you describe Cryptonairz? Is it a firm? Is it a community?
So it's a group of people working together on a common goal, right? We have a team, an NFT team. We have a DeFi team. We have a blue chips team. So we have different people looking into different topics of crypto, and all of those people put the information inside of our community with our community members. And we are just a great place to stay up to date with kind of world events that could affect crypto, different markets around the world, and things that are happening that are going to affect us sooner or later. And so it's really a group effort in the community, and we've been there for about 2 years now. We just had our second birthday, and it's an exciting time to be in crypto.
Nice. So now tell me, why was Cryptonairz created? I mean, what was the reason behind it?
So this is on me, actually. So what happened was this: I started looking into crypto about 4.5 years ago. And my dad kind of said, hey, Robert, will you look into this for me? And I'm like, what is this? It was XRP. And so I spent the next 3 months glued to my computer. I didn't leave the house. I ordered food, and I was just enthralled with all of this technology that was being built out around me that I had no idea about. And so I got really excited, and it's every day I get really excited, but I wanted to create a place where I could tell people about all of this amazing things I was learning. And so we created a GroupMe. And if you've ever been on Telegram or GroupMe, you know that it's very hard to follow along, especially if you have 50 or 100 or even more than that people talking at a time. And so back then, working with someone named Grant. Grant was a policeman, and he actually knew how to build the Discord. And so one thing led to another. The first people in the community became kind of team members because they were also doing in crypto, and they had similar passions as I did. And we built Cryptonairz, and it slowly built up. And in 2021, we kind of peaked out at about 2,000 members because of the last bull run, and it was just crazy growth. And everything kind of went down, obviously, as the market fell. 70, 80, some tokens 90% kind of fell down. And so we have about several hundred members that work together, and so it's just a community where all of these different people and these different ideas come into one place, and it's a very good situation or a place to be be if you want to understand that what's happening with crypto and digital assets and financial markets all around you. And so, you know, all the time, if I don't know something on a certain topic, I'll bring in somebody that does. And we have these private chats, and you were in the last one, and you can understand how valuable that was.
It was great.
Yeah, shout out to Utility Theory on Twitter, because he's an amazing researcher. And you know, that's what Cryptonairz is. It's a group of people working together on a common goal to reach a place in life where we don't have to worry about you know, finances and different things. And it's, you know, it's a really fun place to be and to learn and to grow.
Absolutely. So now you said you have a team. So like, how many people are on the dedicated team for Cryptonairz?
So right now, currently, we have about 13 members. Since the market kind of went down, and you know, we want to pay these people what they're worth. You know, we had a team of about 25 at the peak, and we had to bring that down, just like any business does, right? You know, over time. So we have about 13 dedicated people right now, including myself, and you know, we all work together to provide a good content and a safe place to learn.
Okay, sounds good. Now let me ask you, because this seems pretty intense. Just for you, I know your Sensei chats, you have those a couple times a week, and they'll last anywhere from an hour to 3 hours. Depends on the data. So Sensei chat, let's say, okay, a 2 hour Sensei chat. About how many hours of research do you personally spend, not the team, but just you alone, to make that 2 hours of video?
You know, it's interesting. I watch a lot of content, and I watch a lot of content on like 1.75 speed. So I go through and I spend a minimum 12, 13 hours a day, either watching content or reading information. So really it's about, I spend a minimum 250 to 300 hours a month myself on research, maybe some months a little more, maybe some months a little less, but every day, 7 days a week. Crypto doesn't sleep. So, you know, usually some days, some weeks, I don't have a day off because there's so much happening. You know, certain projects want to do AMAs or Sensei chats or different things. And so, you know, just to give you an example of how much information we go through, usually it's about 80 to 90 different Twitter posts filled with information. Usually there's some information and then an article, and then we'll go through the article, and then different, you know, different banks put out PDFs of, you know, what technology they're going to be using and different things like that. So I need to go through all of that, try to find what I'm looking for, which is, you know, something on, you know, XRP or XLM or Quant or whatever it is, or the word settlement is something that you should look for in those PDFs. But there's just a ton of information that I go through myself, that I personally go through, that I don't have anyone helping me, because I found that if somebody's kind of doing the post and finding the information for me, I am not as educated on that as I should be, and I shouldn't be trying to teach or educate somebody else if I'm not fully up to speed on what I'm talking about. So I take a lot of pride in my chats, and I know that you are in every one of them almost, and I really thank you for that. I appreciate your support. But there's so much happening in crypto. And, you know, I made a decision at the beginning of 2022 to pull away from the DeFi space, because I knew that there wasn't a lot of money in DeFi currently. And if we kept bringing in these projects that, you know, don't usually last. I mean, if you go back a year or a year and a half, how many new DeFi projects are still around? There's probably a handful, 5 or 10.
Yeah, not very many. It's
out of hundreds of projects, right? And so I felt it was necessary to start educating the community, not on DeFi, but on real world utility and what's being adopted by banks and central banks and corporations. And that has done really well. We've looked at maybe 50 projects in 2022, and most of those projects really pumped hard these last 2 months. And so a lot of members, you know, got in a lot of gains because they saw value in those. You know, we're not there to provide financial advice, because I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm there to provide information, and what people do with that information is up to them.
Okay. So, and that's great, because yeah, none of us are financial wizards, and even the financial wizards have no idea what's going on. They really don't. I have no.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Go for it.
Say it changes every day. And I mean, you could talk to one guy and you could watch his interview from 2 weeks ago, and it's very different from his interview today. I mean, he just does a total 180. Yeah. I mean, nobody knows what's happening right now. It's crazy.
Well, and I was going to say is, you know, you go to your financial advisor, they don't know anything about crypto, right? They are enamored 9 to 5 or whatever their time thing is, Monday through Friday, they're in the stock market, right? They don't really put the necessary time in to learn what's happening with banks and central banks and corporations, because that is really where the money will come from, right? The institutional money. Retail investors, we're not going to be able to pump these tokens, you know, into what their proper values are. The institutions and the banks are going to be doing that. And so learning what they're doing and what they're adopting and what they're using, that is really where you find real world utility. And that's really what will really set those particular projects up for success in the future. So it's very difficult to get good information from a financial advisor unless they're in crypto. So my advice is, when you do go talk to that financial advisor to get help, that you ask them, how much do you know about crypto? And how much time a week or a month do you spend on learning more? And if they can't give you a good answer that sounds like, hey, I spend 10 hours, 20 hours a week on this, and, you know, I understand what's happening with X, Y, and Z, I would try to find somebody that can help you and that can, you know, educate you in financial terms with that, because there's so much going on. And if you're not dedicated to the space, it's going to pass right by you.
Absolutely. So now let me ask you, because one thing you mentioned earlier was like Twitter, Facebook, things like that. Now there's a lot of social media and we all have connections. We all have our phones, things like that. So how does the information on Cryptonairz vary from what we're just getting pumped to us from Twitter feeds and Facebook and 7 o'clock news? I mean, what's the difference there?
So that's a great question, right? The first battle to getting educated is finding the right information, or finding the right person to follow to get that information, right? You're not here, you know, you're not traveling the world in some of these meetings and some of these things. And so you need to be able to follow the right people and understand what they're talking about and what they're doing. And then you need to, you know, you need to learn about that and then bring it back into the community. And so the first battle is finding the right information and making sure it's accurate, right? That's really the first battle. And so that does take a lot of time. You know, I spend a lot of my time in Cryptonairz, you know, showing who I'm getting information from, and you should follow this person because they do provide solid information. And that's really what, you know, I'm like kind of the middleman of information, I guess you could say. Because let's be honest, right? The number one value in life is time. We don't have enough time in life, right? And you know, you have a job, you have family, you have, you know, kids or whatever it is, you have hobbies, right? And you don't have 10 hours to spend on crypto a day. But I do, and my team spends a lot of time on crypto. So, you know, coming into, you know, Tuesday's chat or Friday's chat where everything is recorded. So if you can't make it, you don't miss out. You know, that really catches people up on that week of crypto and what's happening those last few days, and provides extreme value because people don't have to go spend the time themselves to go look for the information. I bring the information to them, and then it's on them to take that information and do a little bit research themselves, better understand what they're doing, and then they can make an educated decision what they want to do with their you know, situation, whether, you know, it's investing or whatever. But you know, it is really on them to do that final piece. But we really do help kind of bridge the gap of information, and that way it allows you to keep spending time with your family, keep spending time with your kids. You know, go out and have some fun with your hobbies or whatever, and let us bring solid, really good, actionable information to you. And that way you can, you know, get on with your life and you can still stay up to what's going on in crypto.
Perfect. And yeah, that's the funny part, is the more I've got into this and done this full time, I realized just how much time it takes. Like, oh my God, I thought I was going to have kind of a cushy job being a content creator and giving this information. No, I work a whole lot more for a whole lot less. Nobody told me this when they did. Yabonks absolutely gave me a forewarning. He's like, yeah, you're going to be amazed at how much time you burn. Like, okay, I should have listened better. But, you know, I really enjoy it. Like you, I'm driven to share this information, to get the word out, and to find the good actors out in the world, because there's a lot of bad ones. Like you said, DeFi, most of it's wrecked. And a lot of the projects, people have to realize that they're experiments. So none of us really know. So go into it with an experiment. And like I always say, don't listen to me. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to Bob at the water cooler or Bill the mailman or anybody else. Do your own diligence, because in the end, your decision is what you're accountable for. So listen to no one. Take everybody's advice, all the information, and make your own solid decision, because only you know your situation.
If I had the clap emoji, I would have said it right there, because that was well said. Yeah, never listen to Bob at the water cooler. Bob will always give you wrong information. But you know,
he does. He lies constantly.
Anyway, what you said there was really powerful, right? And you know, and we did see the DeFi space hurt, right? And you know, these last 10, 12 months, there really hasn't been a new season, I guess. Right now, I think we're in like the chat GPT season, where people are trying to make their own trading bots and do that kind of stuff. But you know, there's technology growing all around us, and it's very difficult to really keep up to date with everything, and being able to come to a place where you don't have to have 10 hours or 12 hours, you know, an hour and a half twice a week, and you're all caught up with what's going on in the crypto sphere. And we do talk about more than crypto, right? Because, you know, world events, right? We talk about what's going on with the BRICS nations and the countries joining them. We talk about the US dollar and what's happening with that. We talk about CBDC adoption globally and who's adopting what technology. There's really so much to talk about that people really don't realize that it affects all of this. And when you start getting a macro view of everything that's happening, you really start to understand the world better and events that are going to take place over the next 12 to 24 months. And if you position yourself correctly, well, you know, this technology is going to reshape how businesses and banks do business, right? It's going to reshape how we as people pay for things and using digital dollars and all of this stuff. And there's going to be certain cryptocurrencies or digital assets, as they're going to be called in regulation and all this stuff. Right. But, you know, those are the assets that can maybe bring extreme value in the future. And if you happen to own those assets and you own part of the blockchain, because that's what you do, right? If you are owning some of those tokens, you own part of that blockchain. Just like if you buy stock, you know, you don't own part of the company, but you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying?
I get where you're going. So now let me ask on that, because one of the biggest things, and one of the things I'm personally fighting with, is I go into these projects and I go into these DeFi spaces, and people are talking about investing $10,000 and $50,000. Then you got the blue class worker like myself, who, I mean, if I could scrape $20 a week together, I was lucky. And the latest statistics, I read that 60% of the people of America could not pay a $1,000 medical emergency bill right now if they had to. Yep. So the concept of getting in with 1,000 or 5,000, it's unrealistic for most people. Yep. And that's really what Down Home Crypto is all about. It's to bring it to the working class who are just trying to change their lives. And, you know, they might give up a pizza or a scratch ticket. They don't have thousands. Yeah. So where do you see those type of people and this information? How does that mesh together? And why does this information really matter to those smaller people who maybe aren't investors or just looking at maybe getting into it? That's a great question. I think, you know, a lot of people get focused on the shiny thing called Bitcoin. And people look at Bitcoin and saying, oh, Bitcoin's at 24 grand. I want to own one Bitcoin. So, you know, every week or every month they put in $100 and they're trying to get to one Bitcoin. And, you know, people ask me, do you own Bitcoin? No, I don't own Bitcoin, and I don't own Ethereum. Why? Well, you know, Bitcoin's 27 grand, you know, with some change, and Ethereum's 1,500, give or take. You know, we could buy different assets that have not pumped or gotten to the level of those tokens for much, much cheaper. And I truly believe that something like XRP or Quant or XLM or XDC, right? XDC is a huge one. Those XDC is at 2.5 cents, right? And really, the average person can own part of that blockchain and whatever's about to happen with that, right? XDC is huge in TradeFi. That's a $19 to $20 trillion market. They're reshaping how digital documents for shipping is working, right? Because right now, you know, a lot of places are still using paper, and, you know, utility theory laid this out. It's like 500,000 trees a year, something crazy, right? And so digitizing all of that and having everything go through smart contracts, that is going to bring all of that value, that $19, $20 trillion value, into the blockchain space.
And that's where those cryptocurrencies are going to see big gains. And you don't need, $20,000 to participate. You don't need $1,000 to participate. You can buy XRP right now, it's 40 cents, or you can buy XCC at 2.5 cents with only $10 or $20. So you're able to participate on a level that you feel comfortable with, money that you feel, hey, if the world ended tomorrow, I wouldn't miss this money. You know what I'm saying? But that's really the way that you need to think about that. What other assets besides the two shiny things that JP Morgan's been helping Ethereum stay out of trouble. Gary Gensler, he has connections with JP and all that stuff. I won't get into Ethereum Gate, but there's going to come a time where Ethereum is going to probably be looked hard at by regulators, and all of the things that they've done with their ICO and everything that they've talked about through that, they're in trouble, right? Ripple never had an ICO, right? It was a company that gifted the tokens to the new company and so on. And so, really understanding the right assets really can change your life forever. I think over the next, 5 years, I do think adoption is going to be slow. We do have Big Bang implementation next month. If you don't know what Big Bang implementation is, I can't get into it right now, but you should just start studying it really quickly. March 20th is the date. And all of those payment systems are going live at the same time. And those payment systems are ISO 20022 compliant. And if they so choose, they could use API, use RippleNet or ODL to move that value instantly, 3 to 5 seconds. And that is really going to reshape how banks do business, right? Because right now you have the big three, right? You have JP Morgan, I think it's HSBC and Citibank, right? Those three are responsible for like 60 or 70%, maybe it's even higher, of international payments, right? And so those are the banks that are going to be hurt the most. But understanding the technology, that's why JP Morgan, invested in Ethereum. He's been helping Ethereum stay out of trouble. But that's why they wanted to slow down a company like Ripple, because if that's, Ripple where would we be if the SEC lawsuit never happened? I don't know how big this would be right now, but that's really what you need to start learning and start understanding. And once you do that, you might have a clearer picture of your future and what you want to do with your, hard-earned money and the dollars or, whatever you have left at the end of the month after you pay your bills. In America, right, people making $100,000 are still living paycheck to paycheck, right? And so, it's a really bad time for the middle class and everybody maybe below it or just above it. A lot of people are just scraping by right now, and there really isn't an answer from the Fed or whatever they're doing. So something to think about.
Absolutely. And no, I think that's important. And there's probably several phrases and words you just said in there that I'm sure a lot of people watching this are going, what did he just say? Is that a foreign language? So on Cryptonairz, is there a site where somebody who, say, has next to no knowledge, they read some article somewhere, is it something that they can jump in and start communicating and learning? Is there a fee? Is there some trial thing? And is there somebody there to help them understand the basics, short of my Zero to Hero series, which I've been working on? But is there something in Cryptonairz where they can get maybe a buddy or some friends or a community that they can talk to and start to learn and grow?
Thank you for asking that. And I loved your video on blockchain. I thought that was the best. You had the little boxes. And I was like, oh my God, I love this example.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So CryptoNairs.com, you can look right up here on this, Cryptonairz logo here. So you can join the Discord for free, and usually once or twice a month I will open up Sensei chats to non-paying members so they can come in and learn and understand what I'm talking about. I'm not just this crazy person, but we go through a lot of information, and it kind of goes through the whole gambit, but we're mainly talking about utility cryptocurrencies, new projects that are launching that have like IBM's, back in connection to XLM. We were talking about Stronghold 2 or 3 weeks ago. I do think that's going to be a good project, but Cryptonairz.com, we do have a 50% off until the end of the month. That's New Year 23. So when you click Super Bowl, New Year 23 is what you'll put in, and it'll give you half off for life. Next month, we're going to move that to 40% off, then 30% off, then 20% off, and then back to $100. So right now it's $100 minus 50 is $50. And that gives you access to the community. And in the last, 45 days, 60 days, something like that. The community members have been made amazing calls. I made a 500% call, 5 or 6 days ago. In 2 days, went up 500%. I called the top I got in at 485,000, and I did all of this inside of the community. And so people were seeing, you know, what I was doing, when I was selling, how much I was selling. I'm super transparent about this, because if you're giving information to somebody and, you know, they are taking that information, doing a little bit of research and investing themselves, it's very important that you be a role model, saying, hey guys, I took 25% of my profit, you know, I took 25% profits out. I'm keeping the other half in. This is what I'm doing. And I'm very transparent in the time that I'm doing it. And that's really what a lot of members appreciate, because there are some communities out there that will tell you to buy a token, and then they'll sell everything at the top after the community's bought in. And, you know, I really don't ever want to be that type of person or that type of community. And just one more thing, you know, we've had projects come to us and say, hey, you know, we'll give you a link, we'll give you 15%, whatever your community invests. And every single time that happens, I say, nope, sorry. And if that's a legitimate project, they would never offer you 15% or 5% or any of it, right? So I've never taken money to do that. And I live by that, because it's very important to be, if you're going to be a trustworthy role model in the crypto space, you need to not only walk the walk, but talk the talk, and not, you need to talk the talk and walk the walk. I don't know which way it goes. Yeah.
Which one of those ways? Exactly. I got you. So no, and that's very respectable. And that's one thing that I've always looked towards with Cryptonairz. And even when the bear market hit and all of a sudden bills started going down, everything's like, okay, I'm going to have to cancel my subscription. And I remember putting in, opening a ticket, say, hey, I got to cancel, guys. I can't afford it. And I know you personally showed up, said, hey, sorry, don't worry. You know what? We're going to give you a discount. We want to keep you. You're great. And we'll work with you. And so that was great. That was something that literally showed me the Cryptonairz community cares. They don't just try to keep subscribers. They don't just want to shill their stuff or, you know, keep a hold of you, but they really want to make sure that you are educated and cared about. And so that was one thing that really got to me personally from my experiences. And yes, I'm still scraping my pennies together. In fact, my Super Bowl just came out a week ago and it overdrew my account. I'm like, hey, that's fine. I'll pay it back. Not a problem. It's one thing that I feel is absolutely worth having today, because with things changing so much and so drastically, you know, I think it's critical to understand, because I'm waiting to wake up tomorrow and find out on the news, hey, guess what? We just burnt every dollar in the country, and it's all digital. Have a nice life.
and that is something that might happen over the next, you know, months or years. We've never been in a worse position globally, right? We're not the only country that is trillions of dollars in debt, right? It's a huge problem right now, Sreni, and I appreciate you taking the time and bringing me on. And I hope we brought some light into this conversation to people so they can start researching and understanding, you know, what the Dodd-Frank Act is. If you're in America, you know, Google the Dodd-Frank, DODD, Dodd-Frank Act, and start understanding what a bail-in is, because that's a real possibility in your future. And, you know, we want to make sure you're protected. And, you know, also, not many people know this, but I'll tell you. So in 2022, when everything went bad, you know, I had a paycheck like in January, and then the market started to crash and everyone started to leave because everyone's trying to save money and this and that. And so we had a big team then. And so it got to a point where if I took money from the company, I wouldn't be able to pay a portion of my team. So from February in 2022 to December, so January, I didn't make any money. I did not make any money from my business. It went all to the team. And, you know, I still showed up every day, trying to educate people, trying to help people learn, because that's really why I'm here. You know, it's not about money. It's about opening the information discussion for different people to start learning, because you'll never get another chance like this in your lifetime. We are switching to a new monetary system. This is not going to happen again. It might happen maybe in 100 years or 200 years down the line for your kids, but realistically, this is something that if you know the right information, you might be able to set yourself up for life if you know if you're in the right projects and you know the right information, because it's not going to happen again.
Absolutely. And no, I think that's the biggest thing that people need to realize is there's so much going on behind the scenes that we're not aware of. I watch the news. I'm like, man, I knew about that 3 months ago. They're just now announcing it now. And like I learned in one of the previous chats about the BlackRock owning the 3 major news corporations, they control what you see, what you hear. I mean, come on, guys, you got to wake up and look behind the curtain. And that's what I love about Cryptonairz is you guys are looking behind the curtains. Members are, the community is, we're all digging behind, like the last article about Sri Lanka. I live in Sri Lanka. I don't know what's going on there,
Yeah.
but I do because of Cryptonairz. And so it's one of those where I really want to stress that it doesn't matter if you have $10,000 or $10. Information is priceless. I mean, that's one of those things that it controls everything.
It does. And you know, I was mad at myself when I started learning about XRP. I was like, why didn't I learn about this sooner? Right. You know, you really start to get excited when you start learning something that you don't know, right? And you start connecting these dots, right? That you learned something 3 months ago, and then you learned something today, and then you started connecting dots like, hey, this is connected to this, right? You know, you have Visa acquiring, you know, or partnering with 4 companies that, you know, partner with Ripple. I wonder why they're doing that. You have MasterCard doing the same thing. American Express. I mean, you know, when Ripple says they're going to move the world's money, they're very dead serious on that. And if they even move 10 or 20% of the world's money, the price of XRP can't be $1. It can't be $10, right? It's going to have to be a higher price because of, you know, how much is on the table, right? Like, so at the end of the day, banks usually like settle between each other, right? There's, you know, when you're using your debit card, you have instant payment, but you don't have instant settlement. And a lot of people don't understand that, right? It takes days. Or if you ever send a money order, that takes days, or anything could take days, especially if it's going across the world. And if it needs to go through correspondent banks, that every bank takes a little piece of the payment. And so they're revolutionizing how the money is transferred, right? It's not just, you know, through all these banks, it's, you know, one-to-one, and these banks are nodes on the blockchain. And so, you know, they're able to validate transactions, you know, in 3 to 5 seconds, and banks know where their money is. And they also can get rid of Nostro Vostro accounts where they have money tied up in different banks around the world, or companies do to make payments or whatever, right? You know, if you're in America and you're doing business in China, you have to have a bank account in China with their currency, right? Their yuan or the renminbi. And so, you know, that is going to eliminate all of that. And that's 15 to 20 trillion dollars that can be used to not only maybe help different people in small to medium enterprises grow their business, or give people personal loans or loans to go to school. All of that money can be used to make our society a better place. And that's what they're working towards. And I do think we're going to get there we're very, very close here to all of that happening. And, you know, I thought we were very close in 2018 or 2019, but we are very close now. And you can really start to see the finish line on this thing. And, you know, it's never been a more exciting time to be in crypto. And you know, MiCA regulation is going into effect in the EU in 2024. Britain's UK is working on their own regulation that looks like MiCA, but they're trying to adopt it a little bit faster because you have the UK wanting to be a crypto hub, and they do have a lot of projects being built there. The UAE has 500 crypto startups. This technology is only going to expand. It can't go away, right? This is really the future of how we're going to interact with each other. You know, you have India with the digital rupee. You know, you have different places. You have Africa states now talking and building a common currency that they can trade in between each other. You have Brazil and Argentina talking about a common currency, right? And so there's all of these things happening, but people don't realize that if they're going to build these currencies, they're going to build them on blockchains, and the value of those currencies, if they're asset backed, that value will be brought onto the blockchain. And that's when you start really finding, you know, 500 billion or trillion or, you know, 10 trillion, you know, going onto blockchains, and that will raise the market cap and raise the value of that blockchain, right? You have what, $326 trillion in real estate globally, and that's being tokenized, or going to be being tokenized. Stocks, bonds, derivatives, all of that, you know, futures, derivatives, futures, all of that is going to be tokenized. And when you bring all of that value onto the ledgers, and it's only going to be specific ledgers, right? It's not going to be like, hey, we're going to spread this apart. You know, it really is. You have to be ISO compliant. That's one thing, right? Because you have to have KYC, you have to have AML, know your customer, anti-money laundering. Those are two of the biggest things that these central banks and these banks need to have to move money across borders. So, you know, that can only be, you know, there's about 6 to 7 ISO compliant tokens. They're starting to drip more of them, but those are the ones that I do think are going to have the most value going into this, you know, this 2023 into 2024.
Okay. And so now a lot of people are saying, okay, well, I've got time. I don't have to do this. It doesn't really affect me today. Yep. You know, I'm 80 years old. What does it matter? Or, you know, I'm still in high school or whatever. And a lot of people are, I guess, delusional. And it's a nice way to put it, that this is not going to affect them. And I look back, I'm old enough to remember when the internet came out and when the first cell phones came out, and it was, oh, that's just a fad.
Yep.
And I see the exact same pattern is when the World Wide Web was built. I mean, people for a few years, it was a fad. It was up and down and back and forth. And then literally a year later, the internet was everything. And if you didn't have the internet, you couldn't work from home. You couldn't have certain jobs because you didn't know how to use a computer. I mean, life changed extremely fast. When that trigger was pulled, it was like a shot. The whole world changed overnight. And so,
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
go ahead. No, before I'm going to forget just real quick. So when that happened, because that's a fantastic example. But when that happened, the phone companies, right? They sued to stop the internet from happening, right? Because they understood that they were going to lose market share, right? They wanted to charge people, $300 for a phone call from, here to Paris for 10 minutes. They were going to lose out on money. And you see the same thing happening right now, right? They're suing the technology to try to stop it, but we know it's not going to happen. I just wanted to say that before I forgot, because that was such a great point that you made. And it's a very, very valid point that you went over right there.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that I've been watching, like the Ripple case, and now all of a sudden BUSD, and things are they're trying to do anything they can to hold it back. But as soon as they lose grasp of that, it's going to explode. And people don't realize that. And just like an article I sent you about the DMV are now digitalizing titles and stuff. I'm like, wait, all of a sudden your car is on the blockchain? Wait, how does this? And I mean, there was very little warning. It was just like, hey, guess what? Your title is now on the blockchain. You are now a digital asset owner. Like, huh? And that's how it's going to happen.
So people don't understand that, everything around them, right? They're gonna tokenize carbon. They're gonna tokenize water, energy, right? They're gonna tokenize oil. They're gonna natural gas, any commodity, gold, silver, palladium, platinum, nickel, all of the things that we use to make, electric cars, all of those materials are going to be digitized. And the really cool thing about this, this just kind of brought something in my brain. India is working on a gold deposit. I think it's India. They found a big gold deposit. I think it's India. But what it is, it's going to take them years to mine all that gold out. But what they can do is, they get an understanding of how much gold is in this deposit. And let's say it's $1 trillion, right? Maybe, and then what they can do is they can start selling digitized gold to buyers to help fund programs in their country. And that's what a lot of these countries are going to do, right? Saudi Arabia is sitting on $25 trillion worth of oil. All of that oil could be digitized and used in trade. I mean, where we're heading right now is extremely exciting, but it's also very scary for some people that don't understand what is happening. And it really is like, if you wait 12 months or 24 months, you're going to miss it all. I truly believe, I'm at the point where if you wait 6 or 12 weeks, you might miss it all. I don't know what's going to happen in March, but the new real-time gross settlement payments are going live for the Eurozone, for America, and for other countries. And we don't know what that's going to do to, if they start using, some digital asset to move that value. And, I do think if people just sit on the sidelines, they're going to miss it. And, you really don't want to miss. If you're upset that you missed the .com boom, and then the bust, right? It's the same thing, right? We had a boom. Now we're having a bust. 2022 was a bust. There was a lot of fraud. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of bad actors. But none of it had to do with the actual technology. It had to do with greedy people misrepresenting what they're doing and what they're holding to the public. At the end of the day, that's what happened. So, you see all the news talking about how, crypto needs to be banned, and they want the regular person not to get or take advantage of the situation. That's what they want us to remain 9 to 5, barely making it. We're in a debt-based society. That is where they want to keep us, right? Because if 10,000 or 100,000 new billionaires, or people with $50-100 million popped up out of nowhere, now it's harder to control all of those people, right? There's only so many billionaires in the world, and that's the way they want to keep it, right? The rich want to stay rich, and they want to keep everybody else in the same playing field. And this is how you fight back against that. That's how I truly feel.
Absolutely. And and for a lot of people, even concept of a billionaire is like beyond their understanding. But there was an article I read just a couple weeks ago about a guy who bought into was it Doge? It was one of the coins, Shiba, I think it was, like a year and a half ago, with like $600, and like 9 months later, he had like $1.2 million, and he retired. So it's really about knowing where that information is. And that's where I think Cryptonairz can really bring the light to everyone. So everybody watching this, even if you're not an investor, even if you don't have any money to invest, knowledge is power, and understanding what's going on behind the scenes is absolutely critical to understand what kind of world you're going to wake up to tomorrow. Because if you don't know it, you're going to wake up and it's going to be a world you've never seen and have no clue how to operate it.
Yeah. And, we're, so I'll give you an example. JP Morgan Chase has like 60 or 70 trillion dollars in derivatives right now. And so that's people betting on the future if something's going to go higher or lower, right? It could be a stock, it could be a commodity, it could be whatever. And they are very over leveraged, right? And so if there was a situation that people started to find out that these banks are way over leveraged, they don't have the money in the bank to service. If everybody came to the bank and said, hey, I need my money out, they couldn't service that, right? And they would become insolvent. And then your money in the bank, if you read through the Dodd-Frank Act, they can freeze your money and they can use your money to pay the derivatives first, right? So they're going to pay the rich people first with your money. This is very, very true. I mean, I wouldn't say it, I've done a lot of research on this. I've watched a lot of videos on this. I've talked to different people on this. This is true. It happened in Cyprus. People with over $100,000, I think they took like 15 or 20%, and people with under $100,000, they took like 8 or 9% of their money to bail themselves out. And that was just a very small country. Imagine the entire U.S., right? You have Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and you have Chase. Chase is the worst one. So I actually have a bank account at Chase. I'm going to go. How you can fight against this? Let's just bring this up.
Yeah, let's do that.
You need to do is find a smaller bank. Like if you're in a small town, that's probably the bank you should use. As long as the bank doesn't have connections to these larger institutions, you're going to be a lot safer with your money. So that's what I'm going to do. There's a bank called Republic. It's a local bank in the Bay Area. They don't have ties to JP Morgan, all this stuff. That's where I'm going to move my money because that's probably the safest place for it other than JP Morgan, because it's really the worst bank. I'm actually going to show this document tomorrow in the chat, and bring the facts, right? That's what we're all about. Bring the facts. Show me the information, and that's what we're going to do tomorrow. But they are the worst. They are on the top of a pyramid that's very shaky, and it only takes one or two things, and they're preparing for bail-ins too, right? The FDIC had a meeting about bail-ins in November, and those clips went viral, and we played them in the community, and I made a video about it on my channel. But they're talking about this as it's going to happen. They are planning for it, right? They understand that this is a real possibility, and they're talking about how they're going to fight misinformation and how they're going to get out to the public. But you watch those clips and you're like, if someone just told me this, I probably wouldn't believe it, right? But once you see them talking in this big meeting about it, your perspective changes. Your perspective changes really quickly. And if you don't watch these videos and if you don't pay attention to this, and you have a lot of money in one of these systemically important banks, good luck. They'll take your money, or they'll take a percentage of your money, and they will give you a security token with maybe you own 0.0001% of the bank, right? This new bank. So what happens is if they become insolvent, they create a mirror bank, a Chase mirror bank. They use customer funds to pay off the rich people or everybody above them, and then they give middle class people a tokenized offering of security in the company that you can use to cash in later for a certain amount of money. But your money might be locked up for 3 weeks or 6 weeks or longer. And if you don't have access to your accounts and you have to pay a babysitter or your car payment or your mortgage, that's a real problem. And so, I did want to take some time today to talk about this because it's extremely important. And these are the conversations happening. And I just implore you to, if you don't want to sign up for Cryptonairz, if you don't want to come in as a free member, do some due diligence yourself and start looking this stuff up and make a plan. The person that has a plan for everything usually is the person that survives, right? So make a plan and understand what you're getting into. But you deposit money in the bank, it's really not your money. It's like not your keys, not your crypto. Oh my God.
Right.
Also, did you know this? They're actually talking to centralized exchanges to help with bail-ins if that should happen. So if you're like a, Coinbase in America, and Bob and Frank have $20,000 worth of Ethereum on there, and they say, hey, we need a little bit of this. They might take some of your Ethereum. They might do anything like that. That's a real strong possibility. And we're going to look at legislation that's being passed to make sure that little piece could be in legislation passed. So we need to be very careful and conscious. Always take your crypto off the exchange. If you're not trading it there that day, put it in a cold storage wallet, protect that, because when you take your crypto off an exchange, now it's your crypto, right? If you leave it on the exchange, it's not your crypto. And thank you for giving me some time to go through that. I know I talk a lot about this, but it's super important right now. And I hope your viewers get some value out of this, and they can make plans themselves, and they can be better prepared for what's to come.
Absolutely. And no, I really appreciate it, because this is one of those things where I really believe information is power. And I wanted to present this information to give them a place to go to find out. They could start to learn, start to grow. And so you just gave me a huge amount of content as far as this is what you're going to learn at Cryptonairz. I mean, this is just a standard conversation there every day about what's going on, what's happening behind the scenes. So there's a whole nother world, guys, out there that we are not aware of. You're not seeing on the 6 o'clock news. You're not reading on the newspaper. There's an entire universe, and it's being built without your consent, without your knowledge, and without your approval. However, you will have to abide by it if you don't know about it. So you got to get ahead of the ball. Otherwise, it's going to run you over. Absolutely.
Yeah. And digital IDs, right? Those are going to be a thing soon, right? And people don't understand that they're COVID vaccine or they're not COVID vaccine. That's going to live in there. Maybe your passport's going to live in there, and every other thing, your carbon credits or whatever it is, right? This is kind of a dystopian future, but this is actually the future that the World Economic Forum and BlackRock, right? BlackRock does the bidding of the World Economic Forum, right? If you don't know what BlackRock is, they have like $16 trillion under management, more than some countries. They are the ones that own a lot of share in some of these news places, and CNN, I think it's MSNBC and Fox, I think. And so MSNBC and Fox, they go at each other, right? But you have this one company that owns share in them, and so there's only so many people, and a lot of these people are reading from teleprompters, right? Who's putting the information into teleprompters, and you're not going to find out about digital assets. You're not going to find out about bail-ins until it actually happens, and then it's too late for you. So
exactly, and that's definitely it. So just a quick recap before we wrap up here, Sensei. So now they can jump in Cryptonairz totally free and start to learn and interact, and they can actually talk to you and the community personally right there, right?
Yeah. So general chat is open. Often when we do it, a lot of stuff happens in Super Bowl, right? And so that's really where I spend a lot of my time. I have a channel called Sensei Research, different videos that I find are very important that people should watch, or PDFs or news clips or something like that I feel is very important. So I'll share that in my Sensei Research channel. So Super Bowl has access to that and everything else. But general chat will be open. There's not like millions of people talking in general chat because it is a free channel. But I will say, hey, Sensei chat is open on Friday at 3 o'clock for everyone, right? And I'll tag everybody. So yeah, you don't have to be a member. You can come in for free. But if you really, really want to start digging in, and you really want to start taking advantage of the information that not just me, but we have an amazing community, right? I have the same 15, 20 people showing up to every Sensei chat early, being there because they know the information is important. And a lot of people watch the recordings and different things, but the information is there, but it's on you to make a change in your life so you can start spending some time on this, right? A lot of people think you join a community and then, hey, everything comes directly to you. You don't have to search, or you don't have to do it. And really, we try to make things as easy as possible for people to go in and look at my past Sensei chats or my past videos. But you do need to take a little bit of time upon yourself. And I guarantee you that the time you put in right now will 100 or 500 or 1,000x in the future of what you're doing, right? Because right now, this whole system's about to change. We don't have a date. We don't know when. We're not privy to that, but we're ready, right? If it happened tomorrow, I would probably become a multimillionaire, maybe even a billionaire if it went totally crazy. And I would still continue teaching because I love the space. I love talking to different projects, different builders, different influencers, different people who really feel passionate and really understand that this is the future being built out right in front of your eyes. All it is technology, guys. I'm sure, on your channel, Serenity, that you heard this, that crypto is just gas used, right? You go to the gas station, you fill your car up with gas so you can drive. You need a gas to do with transactions, right? You go and you buy something. Usually there's a 3% fee from your credit card company. It's much cheaper in crypto. So you're paying a little bit. Usually it's pennies. Sometimes it's a lot more with Ethereum. But that is what you need to use to do a transaction, right? To buy and sell something, or to buy an NFT, or to participate in the community. You need to use that. But the basic smart contract technology is going to reshape, or is reshaping, businesses around the world, TradeFi around the world, money around the world. And if you're investing into something that is going to handle a lot of the world's payments, there's a good chance that investment might turn it into something more fruitful when that does happen. So we're very excited, man. It's such an exciting space. And I just wanted to thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate the time. Absolutely. I know we were going to go like 20 minutes here, and now we're at 50.
You're good, man. You're good. We could go for hours, and I know that. And this is what I really think is important. And I want to thank you so very much for your time, because you have a lot going on your plate. You're always researching, digging. And so taking that time to come in here and let us see kind of a little bit behind the curtain, what makes up the man, what makes up the team, and why is this information so critical? I love having these conversations, because most people I talk to like this, they're like, what are you talking about, man? I don't get it.
And everyone thinks you're crazy. And everyone thinks you're crazy. My best friend invests in stocks. I send him videos. I send him my videos. I send him information that I don't send normal people, right? Because he's my best friend. And he won't budge, right? He won't budge. I showed him the Bank of England information with Ripple, and how the Bank of England is going to stop using Swift, or use it a whole lot less, and start using something like Ripple or different technology. I do think they're going to be using Ripple and ODL to move that money. And when you have one of the most globally important central banks like the UK adopting that technology, it's not going to be too long before all these other NDAs that they have, right? Ripple's come out and said they're working with up to 40 or 50 central banks. Obviously, not all of them are going to use the technology, but UK is one of the bigger central banks. And once you get them on board and they start sending money and saving all of this, it's not too long before other banks adopt the technology, right? Because if you want to stay relevant in this age, and your bank adopts digital asset, so you can move that money at the speed of light, and the other bank that your competitor doesn't, you can offer your customers, 24, 365, 7 days a week payments, instant payments. The other bank can't do that because they're still using the SWIFT system. So I do think you're going to have a global rush to adopt the technology. Banks don't have to do it until November 2025. That's when they're supposed to be on it. But a lot of systemically important banks, including the ones we talked about on this call, are all getting ready to use that technology. And it's going to be a hell of a ride, my friend. I'm glad you're here with me on this. And
Absolutely.
It's going to be exciting, man. That's all I can say. I just, every day I wake up, I'm like, is today the day? Maybe not, but tomorrow could be, right? Tomorrow could be.
Yeah, so. But it's going to happen. And whether we want it to or not, people have to realize. So everybody, hey, Sensei, thank you so much for try this again. Thank you so very much for your time. I appreciate it. And everybody watching, if you made it to this point, do yourself a favor. Go into Cryptonairz, at least look around. There's no harm, no foul. Stop in, check out, see what we're talking about. And if nothing else, just try to get a friend, a coworker, a family member, get them to look at the world a little bit differently, because if they don't open their eyes, it doesn't matter if they make $10 an hour or $1 million an hour, it's going to affect them. And believe it or not, as poorer people, it's going to affect even more. So definitely pass the information, share this with somebody you care about and you love, and give them some heads up.
Yeah, and just real quick, Bitcoin was under $1 at one point, and then everyone's like, "Oh, I missed out on this great opportunity." Well, Bitcoin doesn't have any utility, guys, and all of this other stuff does, and it's still under $1. So, do you want to miss this time and wait for the next time, or do you want to start learning and growing? And also too, just real quick, if you need help, guys, and you don't want to sign up, I get it, right? $50 is a lot for some people, but if you need help understanding something, DM me on Twitter. I'll do my best to spend some time and educate you on a certain topic that you're asking me about. Of course, my time isn't infinite, but I respond to everybody and I do the best I can, no matter what the situation is. So, Serenity, thank you so much for having me, my friend. And
thank you, brother.
I look forward to doing round 2 maybe in a couple months. See how it goes. All right.
Absolutely. Sounds like plan. So everyone, thank you so very much for your time. Sensei, you have a good one, brother, and we'll catch you on the next chat.
Cheers, brother. Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.
So I hope you all enjoyed that interview with CryptoSensei. The man is dedicated to educating all of us and sharing that information, and he's absolutely brilliant. I love talking with him. There's always something new I learn. And CryptoSensei, I want to thank you personally for spending the time with all of us. Now, in total transparency and honesty, this is not a sponsored video. I'm not giving any referral links. I get nothing for it except to try to share this information with you guys. So please, take a little bit of time and learn. And I put all the links in the description down below. Jump in Cryptonairz, see what they have to offer, and see if it's a place for you. Now, as always, thank you so much for your time. And until next time, have a great night.